Hi, welcome back. It's Lionel, Tech Lead and partner at Westfall. And again, it's the end of the year. I have not been uploading any videos recently, and I've been busy with a couple projects. I'll share with you later on. But it just so happens that my first video that is on this channel was actually after Christmas, exactly during this period, right? And as I'm busy, sweeping up stuff happening as a tech lead, right? That's when I made that video about PHP. And I thought I could not go 2024 without you guys, my subscribers, of me thoughts. I want you guys to try to work on these three things. So the first one is to guard your mind from influence, okay? This is getting even worse in 2025 with social media, with all the stuff that you get. So what am I talking about? When you are on your phone, when you are reading anything, when you're on Twitter, I find this happening to myself. The bad news is that most of the stuff there is bad for your mindset. If you talk about news, they always talk about bad news. There's someone's killing, there's some war, there's something going wrong, someone is trying to instigate you. Now, as a tech lead, let me tell you, I've worked in companies with this, and we tweak the algorithm to get the most amount of response from you. And unfortunately, the thing is, in the human experience, negativity is far, far stronger than positivity. So if you open up your phone in the morning, right, what do you hear? You hear about wars, you hear about killing, you hear about other people being, political stuff that gets you really riled up. This is on purpose. The truth is, the real world is not really like that. This stuff is not happening all the time. But what happens with this is that it gets you into a funk, it gets you into negativity, and it becomes reactivity. Okay, you don't want to be reacting to this stuff. This also applies in the software business to negative connotations coming in from your client side, from your upper management. So the first thing in the morning, right, if you see them complaining about bugs, you complain about the software, you complain about things. The truth of the matter is, what could have happened is that last night they had a drink, something wasn't going well, they couldn't sleep, they went and wrote negative comments. It's always weird at about 2 o'clock in the morning, people do these kind of things. Why? Because number one, it gets a response out of you. Number two, it gets a reaction. And number three, we are more susceptible to negative stuff. Have you ever opened up a newspaper article and said, hey, have a great day, no news? Doesn't exist. So you're trying to get a vibe out from that. And in 2025, it's going to get even worse. It's shorter, it's more spontaneous, it's more either to make you angry or to make you jealous or make you envy. These are all the feelings. So what I recommend is when first thing you wake up in the morning, right, start with writing down what your objectives are for the day, okay? So don't be reactive, be proactive in the morning by saying, okay, what do I want to achieve today? Before reading anything, because I assure you that any kind of news will be there to get a reaction from you. Don't answer your emails, don't do this kind of stuff. I look at my tickets generally about after 9:30. What I like to do in the morning is write down what I want to do. That's why I have this book here where I write down my tasks and I do a little bit of stretching exercise and actually make my bed. So I go for a little bit of a quick win before the reaction stuff comes in from clients or from negative news. Or I don't ask you for a lot of time. I said 5 minutes. Don't open your phone. Use something like this. I like this because there's no way for anyone to send a message in there. You flip through the thing, right? There's no way to send an email in there. So this blank piece of paper, right, for my journaling or from what I'm writing down there, right, is all me. And somehow with pen and paper, it just feels a lot better. So this is the first tip for you guys, right? Stand guard to your mind of influences, especially on social media. And from the second piece of advice that I want you guys to work on in 2025, right, is learning how to set the right mindset. What am I talking about? The worst mindset that people like to tell you is 2025 is going to be tough. It's going to be hard. Things are not what they were. It's going to get worse, or you got to get ready. This is most prevalent in the elections. You see it all the time. This is the most important election of our lifetime. This is the most important fight that we have to do. This project that you're building, this software, this is the most important thing for the company. This is what they always say. This is the mindset, right? And then it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be hard. It's always going to be bad. And you start telling yourself, man, I'm having a bad year. I'm getting sick. I'm getting pain. I'm losing money. And this whole connotation of negativity. Now, one of the problems about this idea of this downslope and this is going to be negative is that our lives are driven by the way we think about things. Okay? And if you think that's the way, right, that this is just negative all the way, you will perform, you will do things in a negative way. So how do we counteract this kind of stuff, right? How do we fix this kind of stuff? It comes from looking at the mindset and also doing a self mantra. My favorite mantra is, next year will be exactly how things are always. Okay? And that is the truth. Most of the stuff that you've seen here, it's not like it hasn't happened before. There have been pandemics, there have been meltdowns, there have been wars, all this kind of stuff. It is just run of the mill. And what you have to do is say, it's just gonna be how it's always been. That's the best way you can counteract this stuff. And once you start, very important for you guys, right, is to start with the right mindset. This has happened before. I know it's gonna happen again. This is how I'm gonna deal with it. And once you get into that, right, you start to say, okay, then the responsibility falls onto your shoulders. Because this is what normal playing field is. This is, for example, like recently, there was an earthquake, there was a rainstorm. I like how these people just appear and say, oh my goodness, that's a freaking typhoon. That was a tsunami. Look, climate change, it's getting worse. No, it hasn't. You can look at the data, many years. Doesn't matter if it's happening more often or not. The point is, you knew it happens, it always happens. That's why there's a name for it. So what is important, right, is to get yourself in that mindset of not becoming the victim of these circumstances and actually accepting that they happen and moving on to the next thing. This is something that always happens in software where, this thing happens or that thing happens. What you have to do, right, is not go cherry picking all the best times you've had, all the worst times you had, but rather just go with a flow that things go like this. Life is like a wave, and that's how things are. And you just say, look, it's always been how it's always been. And once you get that, you can start to take the next action. And that's my favorite one. Coming to the last one is where we will talk also about PHP, right? And basically, small changes make the difference. This is the third point out, Parvas Magna. So from small greatness from small beginnings or something like that. The most point is when you're sitting in the morning, right, and writing that journal, sometimes, like for myself, I can't even think of what I am gonna do that can make any kind of impact. Some days it's just that bad. You just sit down and you just can't get that thing, And you're thinking to yourself, if you really sit down every day, like, what can I actually do? That once you start to, do the journaling stuff, you start realizing you have some control over this. What can I do? And my answer to you is, do the small stuff. And I want to bring this one back to software development, right? A lot of people are searching for the big thing, AI. They're searching for coding. They're searching for, all these new languages that are going to do these big things to change the whole kind of stuff. I am not talking about that channel. I'm not talking about this kind of stuff on my channel. I am talking about the smallest thing that you can do as a software developer, as a person in this field. And this is the magic of this thing, because the small stuff turns into the big stuff over a long period of time. And that's where PHP comes in. I see a lot of software developers out there bashing people, right? Writing, because this is the game. They need to make you feel that you're not trained, that you're not qualified, and therefore you got to buy a course out there to sort of become this holy grail software developer. But actually, the real skill is actually just starting. It's actually doing the simplest thing. And that's where PHP comes from. PHP gets you there coding stuff. And a lot of these people from the establishment, right? We call it like the deep state of coding. They don't like that kind of stuff. They don't like that someone with no skills at all could set up a PHP XAMPP server on their computer in Windows. They don't have to get a Linux engine and start writing software. And in probably 3 weeks, they could be playing around with the database. They don't like that. The amount of power that you have with PHP, and the fact, you know, that they're not happy about things like, this is not strict typing. They want you to know what a boolean is, a float is. You know, they want you to know all these complex stuff. But at the end of the day, you want to just start by starting. And that is the advice that I want all of you guys, if you're sitting around, go on, get XAMPP server, go 1 + 1 = 2. Put a website and say, hello world there. You know, play around with the code. PHP is going to get you that, and that's why I love the language so much. It's not about the big stuff. Remember, 100, 1,000 guys hacking around with the little rubbish websites, and then suddenly the next big Facebook appears. Suddenly the next big thing appears. You know, the craziest ideas are gonna float through down there. So small things make big differences. And I want you to apply that towards your software development. So if you're thinking of making a transition, go get PHP, go and code the thing. Just go out, try it. If you're not a software developer, you have no idea. Look, pull out my tutorial video, put a XAMPP server, let's go 1 + 1 = 2. Try it with a string, try it with a code, write a code. Put up a stupid website, you know? That's why I love this guy, Peter Levels, right? He was just talking about that one-man solopreneur making millions of dollars. This is what you want to be doing. And don't worry about the results. Don't worry about the results. Okay? The worst thing that you guys can do when you're starting out is to watch the results. Instead of the results, focus on discovering something. Focus on enjoying the process. This is what I love PHP, because it can put that website that you had, just come up with something that's creative. Come up with something that you want to do. Use the power of software to solve your problem. That is what Paribus Magna is all about. Because as you build this stuff, suddenly, over time, this thing gets better, you iterate, it gets better and better, and something great appears. And even the smartest guys in the room, right? All of them cannot figure this stuff out. It just happens if you're working on something for a while, you might just create something great. So guys, make 2025 the year of creating something great. If not, make 2025 the year of creating something small. And that's the bottom line, because the tech lead said so.